So Blair, let's come now briefly to yourself. Unfortunately, you come to India at a time when British papers like the Telegraph and the Sunday Telegraph, the Sunday Times, British television channels like Channel 4 are running stories and documentaries about you. They're suggesting, well, they're talking about what they call the jet-setting billionaire lifestyle he has enjoyed ever since leaving Downing Street in June 2007. And the real point they're making is that the pursuit of money has become the dominant theme in your life.
Yeah, I'm afraid what happened in the British media is that it's got an establishment on the left, who didn't like me because I was New Labour, very modern type of Labour Party, and there's an establishment on the right, the Mail and the Telegraph and so on, and they don't like me because I'm Labour and won 3 elections for a Labour Party that never won 2 successive full terms before, and I won 3.
So both lots are picking on you?
And they do. The fact is I probably spend more than 2/3 of my time on pro bono activity. I have, just to explain what I actually do, I spend probably the single biggest chunk of my time is on the Middle East peace process, which I do unpaid. I then have a foundation that's about religious interfaith, based here in India, which is why I'm here in India today. I have a foundation that's about Africa governance, where we work in 5 different African countries. I raise money for all those activities, and I employ now, under me, I left office with about 2 people and a mobile phone, but I've now got about 150 people working for me. So if what I was interested in doing was making money, I can make a lot more and have a very gentle and easy life. And when they talk about a jet-set lifestyle, what it actually means I spend a lot of time on jets, which is true.
What about the fact, and this is a point that has been made by both the Telegraph and the Sunday Telegraph, they allege that you've used the access you have as Middle East envoy for the quartet to actually acquire contracts or business interests in your own personal interest.
Yeah, this is absolutely untrue. And the 2 contracts that they mention are 2 things that I raised for the Palestinians. One about mobile telephony, because they only had 1 mobile telephone company, and the Palestinians were desperate to introduce competition, which would give them hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue. It was the single biggest foreign direct investment in Palestine. I made absolutely no gain out of it at all. It was a long-standing commitment of the international community. And the other thing is a project that hasn't yet come to fruition, which is the gas marine project off Gaza. And the tenure, I mean, I won't go into the detail, but it is such a sort of tenuous way that they try and connect some commercial gain. To me, is totally absurd. The fact is,
So it's absurd and unfair, these allegations?
Yeah, untrue, most important.
Very quickly, because I don't want to carry on about this for very long, but they talk about 2 specific ones. The fact that you met Colonel Gaddafi 5 or 6 times and promoted, they allege, a banking deal for J.P. Morgan, for whom separately you happen to be an advisor, and secondly, that you used your access to the Emir of Kuwait to arrange contracts for Tony Blair Associates. Those are 2 charges specifically.
Yeah, and again, just to deal with both of them, actually, I've never in fact made any commercial deals out of Libya at all. It's true I used to see Gaddafi after I left office, particularly for the first couple of years. I was very instrumental in bringing him in from the cold. He gave up his nuclear and chemical weapons, started cooperating in the fight against terrorism. I hoped he might shift internal policy to match external policy shifts, but he didn't. And in respect of Kuwait, this is something I do is completely separate from anything else. I have one part of what we do is we advise governments on building capacity and things like healthcare and education and so on. It's got absolutely nothing to do with what I do in the Middle East. And so, look, in the end, I suppose someone said to me the other day, the fact that I'm in the British newspapers so much shows you continue to interest people or divide them one way or another. But for me, my life is actually is directed towards what I think is the big issue, which is how do you bring about, in an era of globalization, peaceful coexistence. That's why I do the Middle East. That's why I do the religious interfaith. That's why I do this thing about Africa and trying to help countries get their way out of poverty. And for me, the money is just a way of funding the rest of the things I do. So, it's... Anyway.